Let's get right to it. If you don't like long stories, go take a trip to the restroom. This is going to take a while. Now, you're probably asking, what in the world is he doing? What could he be possibly thinking? Who wants to read about a free market? Well, I'm not so sure that I know anyone that does. Most likely only myself actually. But I do know this, the free market is a very important part of the American system and should be understood and known by every American citizen. Since its inception, the free market has had some very vocal detractors, mostly those who champion socialism and their ilk. Reasoning is simple: if you don't like what exists and don't feel like changing anything about it, just slander, lie and claim that the existing system works to harm people. Such a perfect plan they worked out. Sadly, most people accept this narrative without a second thought as true or even having evidence of same, simply because it was said by someone who is knowledgeable. So, let's get into it together. We will begin with the concept first. So, the concept of a free market refers to an economic system in which individuals are unrestricted in their ability to engage in commerce with one another for the purpose of maximizing their individual well-being. In a totally unconstrained free market, both individuals and companies are free to conduct their business dealings in any manner best suits them. Since people first started exchanging goods with one another, various iterations of the market economy have stood the test of time. Just as the development of language was a natural evolution of social cohesion, so too was the development of free markets. It's possible that human conduct, as opposed to the effort of a single thinker, was responsible for the development of voluntary commerce and private property rights. A free market economy is one in which there is minimal interference from the government and is based on the principles of supply and demand as well as voluntary transaction. Free markets are characterized by the fact that there are no forced or coerced transactions, as well as no conditions placed on transactions. Nobody initiated the establishment of the free market as a social institution for the purpose of doing business, it arose naturally. Even though some proponents of free trade are opposed to any form of government involvement or regulation, the growth of free markets has been aided by the establishment of particular legal frameworks. These frameworks include private property rights, limited liability, and bankruptcy rules. Where did the concept of a free market come from? Even before the development of paper money, humans engaged in commercial activity. This can be found going all the way back to the beginning of recorded history. At first, economic activity was carried out in a less formal setting, but participants in the economy quickly discovered that the availability of a monetary medium of exchange made it much simpler to engage in advantageous transactions. In the time period ranging from 9000 to 6000 BC, the most popular form of currency consisted of agricultural products such as grain and animals. The first known instances of a good whose main function was to serve as currency were metallic coins, which were first struck in China and Mesopotamia about the year 1000 BC. Although there is evidence of banking systems dating back to ancient Mesopotamia and Rome, the concept did not make a reappearance in Europe until the 15th century. Before that time, banking systems were only found in Asia. Although the Church has denounced usury in the past, this stance was eventually called into question. After that, commerce and wealthy explorers started to gradually modify people's notions regarding how business and entrepreneurship should be conducted, components that underpin a market-based economy. The fundamentals of a market economy include the free and voluntary trade of goods as well as the ownership of private property by individuals. If one of these factors were missing, there would be no such thing as a market economy, rather, the economy would be a controlled one. Although there is evidence that private property existed far before written history, John Locke did not make significant philosophical arguments in support of a private system of ownership of production methods until the 17th and 18th centuries. There are not many truly free markets left in the world today since practically every country uses taxes and regulations to stifle competition in the free market. To argue that the majority of countries around the world have mixed economies is a statement that is more accurate. The debate between capitalism and the free market. It is essential to have a clear understanding of the distinction between capitalism and free markets. A crucial aspect of capitalism is the accumulation of productive resources through the establishment of a centralized institution, such as a firm or corporation, for the purpose of organizing the production of goods. Capitalists include business owners and investors. The owners of these companies keep the vast bulk of the earnings because they are the ones who own all of the tools, machinery, and other resources that are used in the production process. In exchange, they provide compensation in the form of wages or salaries to the laborers they hire. To phrase it another way, those who perform the labor do not have legal title to any of the tools, raw materials, final goods, or earnings. Although individual choices have the potential to influence supply and demand in a free market, this is not the case in controlled marketplaces. It's possible that pre-agricultural societies had free markets, but this phrase might equally be used to describe the actions of customers under modern industrial capitalism. In the past, there was resistance against the forces of the market. Throughout history, pre-existing elites have consistently opposed various attempts to modify the free market. For instance, the caste system used by the aristocracy in feudal Europe was in direct opposition to the propensity of the market towards specialization and the division of labor. This struggle existed throughout Europe. The mass manufacturing of goods and factory employment were also contested by politically linked guildsmen. The Luddite movement was notorious for its opposition to the development of new technologies during the years 1811 and 1817. Karl Marx proposed that there should be a shift away from private ownership of productive assets and toward public ownership of those assets. Throughout the course of human history, the biggest danger that free market capitalism has faced has come from centralized authority and state planning. In current parlance, this debate is frequently framed as one between socialism and capitalism. Although many people use these terms interchangeably, the tension that has always existed between free markets and regulated markets is still very much present in their modern expressions. The vast majority of economists working in the modern era believe that economies that are centrally planned are both less productive and less efficient than other types of economies. Despite this, there is a lot of disagreement on the level of involvement that the government should have in the economy. Who or what was it that made the initial discovery of the principles underlying market economies? Adam Smith, who is credited with being the founder of market economics, is the person who wrote The Wealth of Nations, which explored the interaction between consumers and producers. David Ricardo developed a rigorous mathematical model of this relationship and included it in his book The Principles of Political Economy and Taxation. What are the inner workings of a market economy? In a market economy, the various economic actors are unrestricted in their ability to freely trade products and services with one another. However, in a market economy, both producers and consumers have a great deal of freedom to pursue their own objectives, despite the fact that taxes are an example of a non-voluntary transaction. What steps are involved in the market economy process? In a market economy, tens of thousands of different economic actors, each looking out for their own best interests, make tens of thousands of different decisions. An increase in the demand for a specific product can result in an increase in the product's production costs, which in turn pushes manufacturers to produce more of the product in question. A command economy is the antithesis of a market economy since it is run by a centralized authority that decides how resources are distributed across the economy. Ultimately, I think we need to recognize just how powerful and influential the free market system is. It is infinitely complex and we won't be able to provide a complete theory of it in just one video. However, I hope that this video inspires you to learn more about this incredibly important topic in human history, a topic whose power over our lives grows more apparent with each passing day. Viewing the economy as a whole isn't often as fun as analyzing a specific product or industry. But if you look at the overall dynamics of a free market, it becomes clear that these seemingly abstract interactions are actually having a tangible effect on your life. It also puts into perspective how many industries actually affect your well-being, and shed light on where you can find new opportunities to improve your own bottom line. In the end, this is an important topic. It's been keeping economics professors up nights for as long as there have been economics professors. So if you're still not sure, I would say the free market is a good thing. And, again, the only way to know that is by living in one and seeing how things go. If you do live in a command economy, mainly Russia, North Korea, China, and are sick of it, come on over. We're happy to have you. Were you aware of how free markets operate? Do you have any additional information that others should know about this topic? Let us know in the comments section below or join the conversation on Twitter. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content to transform into smart money.